Hello everybody and welcome to another how-to video. Today I just want to talk about the comparator. I've been talking a little bit about some different circuits, and I think it's really important to understand the individual components to have a better understanding of how the circuits are working. The comparator is one of the most interesting Redstone components because it has several different functions, and I'm going to walk you through all of those. So first things first, let's talk about how a redstone signal works. When you provide a full power source, like a redstone block or redstone torch, it is creating a signal of 15. And you can see this signal travels 15 blocks, degrading once every block. So right here we have a power of 15, then 14, then 13, all the way down. If you try to take it any further than this, we're not going to get any signal. That's super important for how a comparator works. The most simple thing a comparator can do is just pass a signal along. So the input for a comparator is on the back side here, and its output is right here. So there's kind of an arrow pointing to the output. And if I provide it with a signal of 15, it's going to pass on a signal of 15. Now, if I was to provide it with a little less of a signal, here we have a signal of 15, 14, 13, and you can see out the front we get a signal of 13. So the comparator is just going to take whatever comes in the back and send the exact same signal out the front. Now the second thing that a comparator can do is it can actually compare two signals. There is a primary input on the back, and then there is a secondary input on either side. And what the comparator is doing is comparing these two signals. Now, if this secondary signal is equal to or lesser than the main signal, nothing happens. The signal carries through like you would expect. But if this secondary input is stronger than this input, it cuts the signal off. That can be really useful for some sort of kill switch or to make sure if a condition is met that things stop really easily. Now the third thing that a comparator can do is it can subtract one signal from another. This little button right up front here is actually toggleable. You can turn that on or off. And when this is lit up, the comparator is in subtract mode. And what that means is it's taking the signal that comes in the back and subtracting the signal that comes in the side. So here we have a signal of 15. And so if I put, see, that'll be 15, 14, we get a signal of 1. Because 15 minus 14 is 1. We were to back this up a little bit here. So 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. So 15 minus 10 should be 5. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So again, the comparator is taking whatever signal comes in the back and subtracting whatever signal comes in the side. And this doesn't have to be 15. You know, if we wanted this to be 15, 14, 13, 12, 12 minus 10 is 2. And that works out just as well. So the fourth and final thing that a comparator can do is it can measure how full a container is. So here is an example. I have a dropper, but there's lots of containers. You could use a chest, you could use a cauldron, you could use a barrel, anything that holds items. And you'll notice if I put some items in here, we get a little bit of a signal. And if I put more items in there, we get more of a signal. And so this particular container can hold 9 slots, and I can fill those slots really quickly with non-stackable items. And so each time I put one of these in there, we're basically increasing it by 1/9. And if I was to fill it all the way up, then we would get a signal of 15. Now something like a hopper only has 5 slots. And so if I was to put something in here, I'm basically filling up 20% of this container. And so you can see I get more of a signal from that one stack because, again, it counts towards more of the fullness. Sometimes you just need a comparator to determine if a container contains anything, and then other times you want to know specifically how much is in there. So as an example, this is a automatic item dispensing system. So I've got a dropper on the front here, and then a comparator around back that's checking to see if there's anything in here. And if I put some items in there, you'll notice it just starts automatically dispensing them. So what's going on here is the comparator is watching the dropper to see if there's anything in there. And you can see if I put stuff in there, the comparator will just light up. It says, hey, I've got stuff in here. And then it's putting out a signal of about 2. If you remember, one stack of items in a dropper gave us about a signal of 2. The Repeater is then amplifying it. So it goes 15, 14, 13, 12. And then the comparator does what it does best. It compares. So it says I've got 2 coming in the back, but 12 going in the side. Well, the one going in the side is more, and if you remember, that means it turns off the signal. When this signal gets turned off, all of a sudden the comparator can then go, oh, I've still got stuff in here. It lights up, sends a signal around. This turns into a signal of 12. It does the comparing again. It says, hey, the signal coming in your side is more. You need to turn off. And it does it again, over and over and over. It just makes a little clock. When we send this redstone out here, this guy is powering this block, which in turn hits the dropper, and so it expels 1 item each cycle. It's a pretty cool little device. Another thing I use comparators for all the time is really simple pulse extenders. When I push a button, I get a pulse, but if I want that pulse to be a little bit longer, what I can do is just set up a little comparator loop like this. When I push this button, we will get a signal of 15, which will then go in here, then go in here, and then come out, 15. But then it moves over here, 14. Moves here, 14. And then it comes over 1, so it loses 1, goes down to 13. In here, over and over. And so as a result, you get a lengthened pulse. You can see as the signal slowly fades away. Really handy if you just need the pulse to be a little bit longer. I've used it for some of the mini games that I built in the carnival. Sometimes you just want like a door to stay open a little bit longer. You don't really need a long enough pulse to make a clock, but you just want it extended a little bit. So my last example is the skulk frequency detector from a video I made a couple of weeks ago. Here you can see we have 3 comparators in this circuit. This one here is in subtract mode. So it is taking the signal that the skulk creates and subtracting this signal coming in the side. The signal that's coming in the side is a comparator that is measuring how full a container is. And yes, an item frame counts as a container. The direction the item is facing determines the signal. So here we have a signal that we're sending in the side, and we are subtracting that from the signal that the skulk is providing. This comparator here is just taking whatever ends up here and just passing it on. And so what this circuit does is it looks for specific events. To get that light to come on, it needs a very specific thing to happen. So you can see if I put a block down, it will detect that there's vibration, but we don't get any light. If I break it, detected that, but we didn't get a light. It is looking specifically for an arrow to be fired. When I do that, we get a light. So as you can see, comparators are very versatile, very powerful little blocks. I hope that this helps shed some light on what is going on in some of these circuits. Once you kind of understand what part the comparator is playing, it helps kind of demystify what a circuit is all about. And that's all I've got for you this week. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you had fun. Please like and subscribe if you want to follow along on the adventure, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.